The United States is not just known as a developed nation. Commonly referred to as Uncle Sam, the country has become a global symbol of success and prosperity, thriving in nearly every sphere imaginable, from economic and financial dominance to military power, education, scientific breakthroughs, politics, cultural influence, and cutting-edge technology. America's impact resonates worldwide. It's no wonder the term capital of the world is often associated with this nation, victorious in both World War I and World War II. But behind the glittering facade of the American dream lies a deeply troubling reality, a crisis of addiction unlike any other. States like California, New York, and Ohio consistently rank among the highest for drug addiction rates. These regions are often saddled with the unfortunate label of being America's drug capitals. According to data from the U.S. National Survey on Drug Use and Health in 2023, approximately 48.5 million Americans aged 12 and older, or 16.7% of the population, battled substance use disorders in 2022. One of the starkest examples of this crisis is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, recently earning the chilling nickname Zombie City. Sadly, Philadelphia is not an isolated case. Other cities across the U.S. face similarly grim or even worse situations, such as Omaha in Nebraska, Baltimore in Maryland, and Phoenix in Arizona. But why are these cities trapped in such severe drug crises?
We're in a crisis where they don't even really have an answer. As a result of that, more and more people are going to die.
I'm Julie Cornell. A Seward County deputy discovered 200 pounds of meth during a traffic stop on Interstate 80 on April 25th.
Reported death from the highly addictive so-called zombie drug has been confirmed in Europe as it continues to spread in American cities.
We start with Omaha, Nebraska. As the largest and most populous city in the state, Omaha stands out in a deeply concerning way. This city, home to over 480,000 residents, has shockingly emerged as one of the most drug-affected areas in the United States. According to data from the American Addiction Centers, Omaha records some of the highest substance abuse rates nationwide. Marijuana is the most commonly used drug here, with an astonishing 60% of the population reportedly having used it at least once, a figure that ranks as the highest in the entire country. But the problem extends far beyond marijuana. Omaha also holds the top spot for heroin consumption and ranks third for cocaine and methamphetamine use.
Opioid overdoses and deaths are on the rise across the nation and in Omaha.
A stern warning after Omaha police discover 14 pounds of a dangerous psychedelic drug, the largest bust of its kind like this in Omaha.
Known as the Gateway to the West, Omaha's location has unfortunately made it a prime target for large-scale drug trafficking. Major Mexican drug cartels and organized crime networks use the city as a key distribution hub, transporting significant quantities of methamphetamine, cocaine, and marijuana through Omaha from sources in Sinaloa, Mexico, and the American Southwest. Next, we explore Wichita, Kansas. This city, known for its Midwestern charm and cultural landmarks, is grappling with a deeply concerning addiction crisis. In 2023, under the shadow of the iconic Keeper of the Plains, grieving residents held a candlelight vigil to honor loved ones lost to drug overdoses. While Wichita's overall drug consumption may not rank among the nation's top 5, the city still faces alarming rates of substance abuse. Reports show that 1 in 7 residents, or nearly 57,000 people annually, are affected by addiction. Among the many drugs contributing to this crisis, fentanyl is the deadliest. This synthetic opioid, 50 times stronger than morphine, has caused overdose deaths to skyrocket despite public awareness campaigns. The numbers paint a grim picture. In 2020, fentanyl-related fatalities nearly tripled, rising from 28 in 2019 to 90. By 2021, the toll almost doubled again to 162, and by the end of 2022, the figure climbed further to 192 deaths. Wichita's fentanyl crisis underscores how addiction continues to devastate communities across America. Moving on, Tulsa, Oklahoma shines with its lively culture, historic sites, and famous barbecue scene. But beyond its lively attractions, Tulsa faces a darker reality. Substance abuse and addiction have left an indelible mark on the lives of many. According to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, approximately 9% of Tulsa's population suffers from substance use disorders. That's nearly 37,000 residents battling addiction in a city of over 401,000 people. While Tulsa aspires to become the first community in the U.S. to achieve zero overdose status, the journey is far from over. Alcohol misuse remains a major challenge, and the opioid crisis continues to grow. Prescription opioid overdoses, in particular, have become a leading cause of accidental deaths in the city. Meanwhile, many residents also struggle with the effects of heroin, cocaine, and other illicit drugs. Tulsa's efforts to combat addiction highlight the complexities of addressing such a widespread issue, even in a community dedicated to change. Our journey continues to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, a place grappling with a $7.2 billion annual toll from substance abuse. This financial and social toll is felt most acutely in the state's capital, which consistently ranks among the top 10 cities for drug addiction in the U.S. Substance use spans a wide spectrum here, from marijuana and heroin to methamphetamine, with the latter being a particularly significant concern. Even as fentanyl and opioid use grows, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics identifies methamphetamine as its top priority. In a recent high-profile case, authorities seized 57 pounds of methamphetamine, disrupting an international drug trafficking network operating in the city. For decades, methamphetamine has been Oklahoma City's most persistent drug challenge, driven in large part by powerful cartels. Despite continued enforcement efforts, the widespread availability of drugs keeps addiction rates high, straining both local communities and law enforcement. From Oklahoma, we visit Mesa, Arizona, a city combating the dual crises of opioid addiction and methamphetamine misuse. Across the state of Arizona, opioids have taken a tragic toll, with nearly 6,000 overdose deaths reported over the past decade. In Mesa alone, 811 opioid-related fatalities were recorded in 2021, a staggering figure that is more than 12 times higher than when former Governor Doug Ducey declared a statewide health emergency in 2017. Despite addiction levels in Mesa aligning with the national average, the community has taken extraordinary measures to combat substance abuse. In 2022, the Western Colorado Drug Task Force seized over 207,000 grams of illicit substances in its fight against drug trafficking. On the local front, proactive initiatives led by organizations like the Mesa County Opioid Response Group have made significant strides. One of their most impactful programs involves training residents to use naloxone, a life-saving medication that reverses opioid overdoses. Between August 2022 and August 2023, the group conducted extensive outreach and distributed naloxone to over 3,732 individuals. These efforts demonstrate how communities like Mesa are stepping up to tackle addiction head-on, despite the magnitude of the challenge. Next is Baltimore, Maryland, tragically known as America's overdose capital. With more than 100,000 Americans dying annually from drug overdoses, primarily due to synthetic opioids like fentanyl, Baltimore has faced some of the nation's most harrowing losses. In the last 6 years alone, nearly 6,000 lives have been lost to overdoses here. From 2018 to 2022, Baltimore's rate of fatal overdoses far exceeded that of other major U.S. cities. The crisis doesn't end with overdoses. According to the report, Smart Steps Treating Baltimore's Drug Problem, the city also battles rampant injection drug use, which has become a leading cause of AIDS. For Baltimore residents aged 25 to 44, AIDS remains one of the leading causes of death, underscoring the interconnectedness of drug abuse and public health challenges. Compounding the crisis is the city's crime rate, which is double the national average. An estimated 3/4 of thefts, robberies, and homicides in Baltimore are linked to alcohol and illicit drug use. Baltimore's struggles highlight the devastating ripple effects of addiction on every facet of community life. Now, we turn to Chicago, Illinois, a city famed for its architecture, but also notorious for struggles with alcohol and drug dependency. Since the 1800s, substance use has been deeply rooted in Chicago's culture. Some experts suggest that the city's soaring addiction rates stem from the large waves of immigrants arriving in the early 20th century, many of whom introduced new substances into the community. Today, no city in Illinois reports more overdose deaths than Chicago. The Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, identified opioids, specifically fentanyl and heroin, as the city's most significant drug threats in its 2019 intelligence report. This is reflected in the alarming statistics. In 2018, opioids were involved in 80% of Illinois' overdose deaths, amounting to 2,169 fatalities. As of 2023, drugs remain a leading cause of death nationwide, contributing to over 110,000 fatalities in the United States. In Chicago, these numbers are part of a broader crisis that continues to claim lives at an unrelenting pace, underscoring the urgent need for solutions in one of the country's most populous cities. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania comes next, a historic city now battling a growing reputation for substance issues. One area in particular, Kensington Avenue, has become notorious worldwide for its harrowing conditions. Social media is flooded with videos showing residents exhibiting zombie-like behavior and streets littered with used syringes. This bleak reality has earned Philadelphia the unsettling nickname Zombie City. The numbers tell a tragic story. In 2019, Philadelphia recorded a significant number of drug overdose deaths. By 2020, the number climbed to 1,214 fatalities, and in 2021, the death toll rose even higher to 1,250 cases. According to a 2022 poll by the Pew Charitable Trusts, 70% of Philadelphia residents identified a combination of crime, drugs, and public safety as the city's most pressing issues. Heroin remains the most prevalent drug in Philadelphia, with many users also experiencing homelessness. These overlapping crises, addiction, homelessness, and crime, paint a devastating picture of a city in urgent need of solutions. Then there's Detroit, Michigan, deeply scarred by the opioid crisis, with 430 overdose deaths recorded in 2023. Recent data from Wayne County, which includes Detroit, reveals that overdose death rates in the area reached 35 per 100,000 people in 2023, far exceeding the national average of 32 per 100,000 in 2021. This troubling trend is part of a broader narrative of suffering, where opioids are at the heart of the crisis. The impact extends beyond the numbers, threatening communities across Michigan. In 2022, drug overdose deaths statewide surpassed the combined toll of suicides and homicides. While most overdose victims are white, the crisis disproportionately affects Black communities in Detroit, underscoring glaring racial disparities. These inequities serve as a sobering reminder of how the drug epidemic deepens existing social divides. Finally, Phoenix, Arizona greets us. Known for its endless sunshine, it also faces a grim fight against addiction. According to data from the American Addiction Centers, Phoenix leads the nation in the use of cocaine and methamphetamine, with 23.3% and 15.1% of the city's population, respectively, reporting use of these substances. Marijuana use is also notably high in the city. The consequences are dire. In 2022, an estimated 991 residents lost their lives to overdoses. Experts suggest that Phoenix's proximity to the southern border, a hub for billions of dollars worth of narcotics smuggled annually, makes it one of the easiest entry points for drug traffickers, particularly those linked to Mexican cartels. This combination of geographic vulnerability and high addiction rates underscores the complex challenges Phoenix faces in its fight against drug abuse and trafficking.